Why not try to...
So most of you guys know that I have a lot of issues with many of these black Republicans for the most part because many of them have built their entire platforms, their entire personalities around criticizing the black community and saying some of the dumbest shit. I mean, from Byron Donalds to Tim Scott to the Hodge twins, Candace Owens, Terrence Williams, and the absolute worst, Officer Tatum, I cannot stand these people. So about 2 years ago in 2023, Officer Tatum is on this podcast and he's talking about how he's always going to be strong for his wife. And he's saying how he would never cry in front of his wife because she got to see how strong I am. She got to see who the man is in the house. And I would never cry in front of my wife. And then he says, even if his son passes away or his father passes away, he would never cry in front of his wife. He literally sat there and she was like, wait, really? And he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter who passes away. I would never cry in front of my wife. She got to know how tough I am. So I made a video on how this dude is so damn dumb and literally making up stuff about something no one cares about. No one cares if you would or wouldn't cry in front of your wife. It does not make you more of a man because you're sitting here claiming that you would not cry in front of your wife, even if your son or your father passed away. I made a video calling him a liar because he was.
I would never cry in front of my wife.
Really?
I just wouldn't.
What if your kid died?
That's a different thing. I mean, I would try not to cry in front of my wife if my kid died.
To be like the support.
No, yeah, I'm her foundation. I'm her strong point. Mm-hmm. I'll cry on my own, but if everything is going south, I want my wife to know I'm strong in that situation, and I can be. I don't have to cry. I can do that on another time. My wife is expecting me to be strong in these times. I thought about this. So I heard a guy say this, is that when my father passes away, which everybody's parent is going to pass away, I'm not going to cry at his funeral. I don't want to cry at his funeral. I want my father to know that I'm strong enough to stand up and have this conversation. I've compartmentalized what has happened. I can do that on another time. At my father's funeral, I'm going to stand up and be strong for everybody in the building. And that's not a bad thing to do.
Does this dude even listen to himself? Like, you're trying to hold up this tough guy facade so bad that you literally just said you wouldn't cry in front of your wife if your child died. You wouldn't cry at your dad's funeral because you got to be tough. You got to stay tough. You got to be the foundation. Dude, there's not a person on this earth who is asking a man not to cry if their child dies. Not a person. You just literally made up a story and made up a take to prove something that no one cares about. Like, no one asked at all. And you're lying. Because when she asked you, you thought, oh, damn, she got me. I don't want to look stupid, but I'm already going down this road. You know what? Fuck it, I gotta say it anyway. Nope. Wouldn't cry if my child died. Wouldn't cry if my dad died. Wouldn't cry at his funeral. Dude, seriously, you have some horrible takes. Like, I've seen a lot of your videos. Horrible takes on a lot of things. This might be one of the worst. Like, by far, one of the worst, dude. Goodness. And again, absolutely no one asked. Like, no one was gonna think less of you or gonna think you weren't like a good black Maga if you said, yeah, I would cry if my dad or my son died. Of course I would. What person wouldn't? But instead, you held on to that shit. And like I said in the video, you were sitting there like, damn, I really backed myself into a corner here. But you know what? I'm just going to roll with it. Yeah, I'm not going to cry even if my son or my dad passed away. Because my wife needs to see me staying strong in my house. Fast forward, 2025, September, Charlie Kirk gets killed. Officer Tatum, on his podcast, in front of his millions of followers that he has, crying. Now, maybe he would say, my wife don't watch my podcast, so I could cry right now because she ain't even watching it. Or, like I said, he was full of shit and he was lying.
I'm very angry because you don't get your lick back.
The restraint that Officer Tatum is
showcasing right now, every Christian in this nation can relate to, because this is the type of suffering that we have to suffer with Christ in such a tragic time like this, but we still have to operate in peace and have to honor the word.
And you know, I saw T. Nathan making a video about this, and he said exactly what I was thinking. He said, I wonder how your wife feels now. How your wife feels knowing that you said on some random podcast when no one fucking even asked or cared that you would not cry in front of her if your son died. You would not cry if your dad died, but you cried because a racist dude who says the worst shit about people who look just like you cried. You cried for him. You sat there on the podcast and you're like, take your shirt. Gotta wipe my eyes with my shirt. You cried for Charlie Kirk, but you're on record saying you wouldn't cry even if your child died. I remember this dude made a video about me, and he talked about how, like, oh man, this guy, he's saying all this stuff and everything, you know. Oh, I wonder how his family feels about. How does your family feel, bro? You were talking about me calling out racism. How does your family feel? You literally said you wouldn't cry for your son or your dad, yet here you are crying for a racist, misogynist, homophobe. Dude, I've said this many times, and I know it doesn't bother you because the money's too good. The grift is too good for you. But bro, you're embarrassing. You are absolutely embarrassing. And what's funny is I've seen some creators who I really respect, some black creators, saying when Officer Tatum, you know, finally gets that moment where he finds out, we should be there for him. I won't, bro. I'm not the one. Like, I love y'all. I respect y'all. And actually, I wish I could be as good of a person as you guys are, but that's not me. Officer Tatum finds out. Officer Tatum comes back and wants to, I see there's a lot of racism. Nah, bro. I don't care. I got nothing for you. I got nothing for you but middle fingers. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.